Hey race fans, welcome back to Drewster Racing. Today we have the Groove Road Race. I believe it was formerly known as the Fountain Festival Road Race, or maybe it still is, not sure. Either way, really beautiful race in Fountain, Colorado, just south of Colorado Springs. It's a 40-mile loop through some of the plains with some rolling hills, great views of the mountains, and we really got some great weather today. I want to say this race started in like the mid to low 50s and got up to the 70s, and it's just perfect for racing. So, as the title suggests, I actually attacked pretty early in this race. Did not get a chance to warm up, so thought maybe I'd roll to the front, put in a few efforts, and just kind of warm up the legs. Didn't want to be ice cold in the pack, and then once that pace picked up, kind of just fall off the back. And that's happened to me in the last few road races. So, wanted to make sure I was properly warmed up. But as I started going through my warm up, I noticed I had a little bit of a gap, about 5 or 10 seconds, and just kind of kept at my pace, doing like anywhere between like 250 to maybe 300 watts, and the group behind me was just going so slow, and I still was kind of gaining a little bit of time. So I'm off by myself, and just decided, heck, I got 30 seconds. I'm gonna put in a little bit of a dig. So I started doing around 350 to 400 watts, and maybe got like a full minute or so on the Peloton and was feeling pretty good, so thought I'd just ride it until it stuck and then sit in the group. A few miles into that break, I turn around and I see my teammate Nick attempting to bridge. And normally you wouldn't chase your teammate, but with this being a 40-mile road race, like, I'm not going to be able to hold this by myself. Like, I would eventually be caught. So it makes sense for Nick to bridge, and he did. He was strong enough to jump from the group up to me and make up that gap. And we worked together for, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 miles until these other three riders here, two Groove riders and a rider from Full Send Racing, caught us. And we had a very strong group of 5 at this point. And right now we are rolling turns. We've still got 45K to go. So we know we have our work cut out for us. I was not too optimistic at this point that we'd be able to make it stick. They ended up combining the men's senior threes, the collegiate Bs, and I believe a couple masters categories as well. So it turned out to be a pretty big field with all those categories combined. And, I'm thinking at this point we've got, I don't know, 30 or so miles to go, and I just was not feeling very optimistic that this break would stick. But I mean, the motivation was very high in this group. We've got a lot of strong riders, each, taking their turns, pulling at the front, and we've got a great rotation going right now, and it looks like that gap is continuing to grow. Didn't include a rear camera. I try not to on these road races simply because it's just added weight, and I really don't like the way it feels on the saddle, especially when climbing. So just the front-facing camera today, but I did, turn around quite a bit, and at this point, I think we're like slightly out of sight from the Peloton after that last little chicane or turn, and we're gonna put in a little bit of a dig here and make up some more pace on this next turn, because if we're out of sight from the Peloton, they're not gonna be too motivated to chase, because for all they know, we're a minute up the road or we're 10 minutes up the road. But yeah, right now we're just rolling. All right, so we're skipping ahead just a little bit here, and I want to talk a little bit about the composition of this breakaway. So we have 2 teams represented, Primal and Groove, and then we have a lone rider with Full Send. And up until this point, the Groove riders and the Primal riders have been taking even turns off the front, and the Full Send rider has skipped a few turns, but that makes sense. I mean, he's by himself. There's no reason for him to be taking extra pulls or even pulling evenly with the group, because right now it's 2 versus 1, and he should be resting up as much as possible. And he's a smart rider, so that's what he does. But yeah, we're rolling off the front. And I found out a little later in this race, this Groove cyclist right here in front of me, he's actually a Masters rider. So essentially, there's only 4 riders in the men's senior 3, and if we can make this stick, we're almost guaranteed. I mean, Primal's guaranteed a podium, and if we can just drop either one of the Groove riders or the Full Send rider, both myself and my teammate here Nick are guaranteed a podium. So we're feeling pretty good. Again, it's early in the breakaway right now, 41K to go, but the peloton's still out of sight, and we're feeling pretty good. We're putting in some decent speed, and still working together pretty well. All right, so skipping ahead another 6K or so, we're coming into one of the few turns on this course, and as we make this turn, the pace definitely starts to ramp up here. And you're gonna see this groove guy put in a dig, and right now I'm doing 500-600 watts just to stay on their wheel. And this group of 5 is gonna shortly turn into a group of 4, because right now that full send rider is starting to yo-yo off the back, and as this this pace continues to ramp up, at some point in this next K or so, I believe we end up dropping him. Again, don't have a rear camera, so I'm not 100% sure where that happened, but I believe it's right around this section of the course with about 35K to go. And as we're in this group, I'm learning, this groove rider in front of us is extremely strong. He's definitely taking the majority of the poles. He's taking longer poles. If I'm off the front, I'm maybe doing anywhere from 5 to 15 seconds, depending. And he's putting in like full 20-second poles each time. Definitely not skipping any turns. And this guy's, really contributing to this group. And, when you see that from the other team, it definitely motivates you to continue to take turns. So Nick and I, we're definitely putting in our turns. I know I definitely skipped a pole or two, and I wasn't being selfish. I wasn't, saving up for the sprint or anything. I was just gassed at a few points in this race, but definitely did my best to contribute. So here I am off the front now, taking a pole, and this is kind of like what the power looked like for most of the race. Off the front, you're doing anywhere between 3 and 350. And then when that pole starts to wrap up and you're in the draft, you're doing, anywhere around the mid-2s. At the end of this race, I believe my power was about an average of about 280 with a normalized of 310. So a good effort over 40 miles, but nothing crazy. And that definitely shows just if you can ride together as a group and ride smooth, you're definitely going to be much faster as opposed to, being in a very surgy peloton. And that's definitely what allowed us to keep this or hold this break for so long. So skipping ahead a little further, I studied the profile ahead of time, and I knew there was this little kicker coming up about 32 with 32K to go. And this is where I was maybe the most worried about getting dropped. At this point, I'm already pretty tired. Heart rate's at the mid 170s. And the pace is starting to kick up as we get into this little bit of a kicker. And it maybe gets to, averages about 5% or so, gets up to 7 or 8 right here near the top. But again, we're halfway through this race, so about 20 miles in, and I'm definitely feeling it. And right now putting in 500 watts, getting close to 6, and I'm definitely struggling. But I know, if I can survive this kicker, because I know the profile, I know there's a slight downhill, we're going to have a right turn, and then we're going to hit some rollers. And I know there's going to be opportunities to recover. So I'm willing to go all in and just absolutely die on this little bump coming up here. Because I've worked hard for 20 or so miles, and I don't want to lose it, over just because I can't hold on for this half mile or quarter mile. So I'm giving it all I got. Heart rate's continuing to ramp up. It's 178. I believe it gets into the 180s here. And I even slide past my teammate Nick here, just kind of trying to sag the climb. I don't want to have to put on the brakes going uphill. But yeah, we're cruising right now, 500 watts. But yeah, we've reached the top. I'm still in contact with the group. Can't let this little gap open up, so I know I got to put in a little bit of a dig to stay on Nick's wheel. And yeah, 181 heartbeat, but I'm gonna definitely tuck in right now, get aero, and try to recover as much as possible before these rollers start up on the next section of this course. All right, so we're going into the second to last turn here, and this next stretch is pretty long, a lot of rollers. So I know it's going to be extremely tough. And as we make this turn, I look to my right, and I still don't really see the peloton. I think I see one of their motos way in the distance, and I'm going to guess we've got maybe 2 minutes on the group. So right now the group's thinking, let's put in some power, let's put in a hard effort here, especially on these uphill sections of the roller, so we can continue to grow that gap. And that is exactly what we do. If you keep an eye on the power here, like right now I'm in Nick's draft doing 300, so off the front they're probably doing Oh, I mean, right now I'm doing mid threes. So they're probably, in the fours right now, and we're booking it right now, 20 plus miles an hour uphill. And we know if we can continue to just put in huge efforts and just hammer it on these uphills, we're going to continue to either hold that gap or maybe even put in some more time. But yeah, right now, 400 watts, and I'm in Nick's draft right now, so I have no idea what he's doing, and for all I know, it's close to 5. But yeah, just a ton of rollers coming up, so we're gonna just hammer it up these uphills, tuck in on the down, and hope we can continue to open up that gap. All right, so we're continuing to trade poles. We get to the top of this next kicker, and if you look ahead, we see we've got nothing but straight open road and a nice downhill coming up. And this was maybe my favorite part of the race because we are absolutely booking it coming up here. I'm just gonna tuck into the back of the group. I mean, I'm only putting in like 100 watts right now, and we're hitting 40 miles an hour. Just absolutely cruising, and I mean, I'm able to definitely recover quite a bit. Right now, heart rate's going down. It's in the 150s, and we're absolutely flying. And I know coming up here, we get close. We might even touch 50 miles an hour. I know we hit 49, but this felt really good, and I know we were definitely putting in some time. I don't know if the group was riding as efficiently as we were, and yeah, I mean, we're flying right now. 44, 40, and I think right here as I kind of pull up just a bit, we hit our max speed. Should be coming up. Yeah, right here. 49 miles an hour for just a second. Could have hit 50, but we didn't. Oh well. And yeah, still absolutely flying. And right now, all 4 guys still taking turns. The Masters rider, he maybe skipped a couple turns, but he doesn't necessarily need to pull. Right now he's position number 1 in his group, and he can take some time to sit in. And the other 3 of us, we were more than happy to continue to trade pulls, and that's what we continue to do here. But let's skip ahead a little bit further. All right, so skipping ahead, we've got a little over 12K to go. That's our last turn. After this, it's just rollers to the end, dead straight. And yeah, we're feeling pretty good. I'm looking over my right shoulder. I don't see a single rider behind us. I don't even see a motorcycle or a lead car. It's just us. But we still have our work cut out for us. 12K to go. 4 riders who've been, putting in a hard effort from kilometer 0. And I mean, that's a big group behind us, and if they really start to work together and they're taking big turns, there's definitely a chance that they could still catch us. So we're going to continue to put in some hard efforts here, but I'm definitely dying at this point. I can't remember the last time I've been on a ride, this long, putting in this long of a consistent effort. Definitely our Worlds rides help, but this was tough, and I'm definitely feeling it. I'm off the front right now, putting in 300, and I'm going to ramp it up a little bit here to 4. And this was kind of our strategy in this race, and really the whole group contributed to this. Anytime we'd approach a kicker, we'd put in a dig, and this is what we're doing here. We're doing 400, 500, nearly 600 watts here, and then kind of recovering on the downhill. I mean, recovering as much as we can. We're still putting in like 300 watts, at least the lead rider is. And I'm just sitting in here. But we've got, 10K to go. You want to start playing some games and start recovering just because, I mean, you want to have something left for the sprint. But to be honest, at this point, I would much rather take a podium than get caught, playing games trying to get first place. All right, so we're going to skip ahead to just under 4K to go. Still evenly trading off turns, but at this point, I'm really feeling it. Definitely struggling to make my way to the front with each time it's my turn to pull. I'm dying. Heart rate's in the high 170s, sometimes hitting the 180s, and again, that's my max. So I'm definitely feeling it. We've got, well over, I don't know, hour 20, close to an hour and 30 in the legs of just breakaway riding. And I'm definitely feeling it. Haven't been putting efforts in like this yet this year, so I'm definitely struggling. But you may not be able to see it on camera, but if you look way ahead in the distance, you can somewhat see the finish. There, we started next to a school, and you can kind of see the building way into the distance. And right now I'm starting to think about how I want to finish this race. Um, and kind of wondering where and when is the best time to attack. Because right now we're a little over 3K to go, and for me that's definitely way too early. I'm very tired, heart rate's very high. So if I attack now, maybe I get a gap. But I know this other rider, the Groove rider on the Factor, Alex, he's gonna catch me. Like I don't have the legs right now to put in a solo attack and hold it. So I'm gonna take another pull here, and you can see we've got a little bit of a kicker coming up, and I kind of surge. And I probably shouldn't have. This late in the race, there's no reason for me off the front to be putting in 350 watts or mid fours right now. And that's just a terrible time to do that. I know we've got a good gap on the group behind us. I don't think they're going to catch us. I'm not 100% sure on that, but there's no reason for me to be putting in that big of a dig. And as I pull back, Nick rolls off the front. It's his turn to pull. And then there goes that Groove Rider. He's off the front, and I'm kind of boxed in, and I'm very tired because I just put in a pull. And I'm going to try to catch him, but I can't. And then this Groove Rider gets a bit of a gap, and I'm going to try to make it up. But right now it's almost too late, and he attacked so early. Did not expect that. I mean, he attacked with like 2.5K to go, and I was expecting, another, I don't know. I really expected him to attack like in the last 500-600 meters. But that really just wasn't the case. And right now I'm trying to put in a dig. I don't want to completely gas out. So I'm kind of trying to stay within my power, so doing between 350 and 4. But if you look, man, that gap just keeps growing, and starting to realize I'm probably not going to be able to catch him. He was definitely the stronger rider all day, and still is at this point in the race. So still going to kind of continue to put down the power, hoping maybe he burned a few too many matches, and maybe he surged just a bit too much on this attack. And there's still, 1.5K to go. So hoping that, maybe he just completely overdoes it and I have a chance to catch up. But yeah, he's just continuing to get smaller and smaller on screen. My power's starting to dip. It was down to the 280s, 290s. And right now I can barely, keep it between 3 and 350. I'm kind of spent at the moment. All right, so we'll speed it up a little. And just get to the finish. But yeah, that is it. I'm going to take second place in this race. Extremely happy with the result. Wish I would have been paying a little bit more attention. Not sure if it would have mattered. That was a perfect attack by the Groove Rider. Right after I was taking my pull, Nick was mid-pull, so we're both pretty tired, and he just found the perfect time to attack. He was definitely the stronger rider of the day. Well-deserved win. But yeah, really happy with this result. I mean, if you've seen some of my latest videos, it's been a bit of a crap season. A lot of video off the back, and just really has not been that exciting. So it was fun to find some fitness today, and being able to make a breakaway stick from the zero definitely adds a lot of confidence going into the midpoint of the second half of this season. So really excited to see what's going to happen coming up. Also, shout out to Nick, my teammate. He was able to take third place, and that was his first podium. So big congrats to him. He was extremely strong. Both him and Alex definitely kept me motivated through this race, just making sure we were taking turns, just keeping us motivated, keeping the vibes high in the pack. So that was great. I think without those two, or just without their consistent effort, there's no way this breakaway would have been able to hold till the end. So shout out to those two guys. Next race is going to be the Superior Mogul Road Race. It's the Colorado State Championship race. This was a race I was able to win last year and take the state championship for Category 4. Definitely going to be a different race now as a Category 3, so can't wait to see how that shakes out. And yeah, thanks again as always for watching. I will see you on the next one. Later.